Hello everyone. We continue to analyze the mistakes beginners make when analyzing weather markets on Polymarket. I would like to ask you to subscribe to our Telegram channel. There we analyze more similar events and more other categories, and for some categories we have insider information that helps us with our analysis. One more systematic error in temperature markets. This time it's not even so much about the weather but about arithmetic. Many markets formulate the threshold in one unit, for example in degrees Fahrenheit, while the actual station that will be used for resolution publishes data in degrees Celsius or vice versa. Converting between scales seems like a trivial operation, but it is precisely at the threshold boundary that it regularly creates a gap between what intuitively seems to be the case and what the official source will show after rounding according to its own rules. Most national meteorological services outside the US publish data in Celsius with a precision of 1 decimal place. And many markets on Polymarket formulate thresholds in Fahrenheit because they are oriented towards an American audience. Converting using the formula, I'll even write it down for you. Fahrenheit equals Celsius multiplied by 1. 1.8 plus 32. That's our formula. It is accurate in itself, but stations round the initial value in Celsius before publication, which means by the time it's converted to Fahrenheit, you're already dealing with the rounded number, not the true temperature. For example, the true temperature is 37.72, but it's officially published as a rounded 37.7. When converted to Fahrenheit, this gives 99.86 degrees Fahrenheit. And the market with a threshold above 100 Fahrenheit in this case resolves to no. Although the true value was closer to 100 than it seems at first glance from the rounded data, conversely 37.78 degrees Celsius rounded to the same 37.8 degrees Celsius already gives 100.04 degrees Fahrenheit. That is, a difference of just 1/10 of a degree Celsius can determine the outcome in Fahrenheit one way or the other. The first thing you need to do is to find out in what units the data is measured for the station that is specified in the market rules and not for the station you are used to. Official weather service websites almost always indicate the original unit of measurement right next to the number. So yes, here are Celsius, here we see Fahrenheit. That is, you don't need to measure anything in Fahrenheit. If our market is in Fahrenheit, we shouldn't measure something in Celsius and then convert it to Fahrenheit. You shouldn't do that. You need to look directly at the official data, the official verified data for those degrees, for those measurements that are specified in our requirements. Second, if possible, look for values with the maximum available precision, rather than ones already rounded to a whole number. Many meteorological services publish values rounded to the nearest whole number on their websites for the general public, but in detailed archives or hourly reports you can find data with precision to the 10th, which is what you should use for converting to another scale, like for example the WSR 88D, which I keep telling you about. The same goes for windy. They all point to, here we see 1415, right? See, there are no tenths here and there are no tenths here. But if you take the WSR 88D, there are tenths here. No rounding is performed here, we can't know for sure. Here it's 63.8 or 63.1, we can't know that. Conceptually, the WSR 88D shows us this. It's just all accessible and open without any rounding. And the third rule, do the calculations yourself. Ultimately, if you do not rely on a converted value from a secondary source, whether it's a news article or a weather app. Different websites sometimes use different rounding rules when converting, and as a result they show, well, like here, yes, slightly different numbers for the same observation. A typical market error: participants see an already converted rounded value in the required units in the news or an app. For example, we have 63 yes in Fahrenheit, and some people consider a threshold above 64 or 65 as clearly not crossed, although the original value in Celsius could have been such that when recalculated with higher precision, the result turns out to be exactly on the edge or slightly above the threshold. So what do we need windy for? To compare two models, their agreement with each other. That is, yes, if we take the American one, you see here it's already 66. If we take the European one, here it's 63. So they are already diverging here, the models are no longer in agreement. That's why we don't just use one tool, not just the one that we're confident in. We are confident in it, we work with it, we analyze with it, but still, you can't just use one tool. We also have the opposite situation. Local media in a country with the metric system round the temperature to the nearest whole Celsius degree in a way that is convenient for the headline. That is almost 38 degrees Celsius, creating the impression that the Fahrenheit threshold will definitely be crossed. Although an accurate conversion from an official source with 1 decimal place shows that the actual value is below the required mark. In both cases, the discrepancy arises not because of an error in the weather forecast, but because in the chain, initial measurement, then station rounding, then conversion to another scale, then re-rounding by a secondary source, an error accumulates precisely where the decision depends on fractions of a degree. Always verify, and I mean always, double check exactly which units the original station is using to take its measurements. That is to say, if we were to write out the following phrase, here is an airport. Here we might even take some station. We see what kind of station we have. The very first thing that we absolutely must do is to take a moment to check, and specifically check in what exact units our station measures the data. It is a crucial step to ensure accuracy. Let's say it is specified for us in the resolution rules. We convert the value ourselves using the formula that I wrote for you. And we do not trust the pre-converted number, for example this one, right, from some random other source even. Always pay attention to the rounding rules of the market itself. If the threshold is formulated as, say, above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, clarify whether exactly 100 counts as above or as equal. In borderline cases, this very detail in the wording determines the outcome no less than the temperature itself. Make it a habit to do a quick check before placing a bet on a temperature market with a threshold at around a number. Find the station from the resolution rules. Take the initial value with the maximum available precision in its native units. Convert it to the threshold units yourself using the formula, and only then compare it with the threshold itself. If, after such a recalculation, the result still changes depending on the rounding method, it is a signal that the market is right on the edge, and the price for it should be closer to 50%, rather than the confident 10 or 90% that the crowd often bets on, relying on a pre-calculated but inaccurate number from a secondary source. Therefore, if we notice that we have a chance, yes, something like 50-50, but we see that the probability of an event is actually 10 to 90 or 20 to 80, then we can simply risk a small budget, a small bet on the risk for such a good odds. But we realize that our chance is objectively 50-50. These are also like some loopholes, some ways to just play around or test your luck as an option to subscribe to our Telegram channel, to our YouTube channel. In our Telegram channel we analyze more events, more categories, and we also have insider information on some of the events. Bye everyone.